Welcome to the simpliHOM podcast, where we educate, inspire, and entertain real estate entrepreneurs seeking a casual and practical podcast. We're here to simplify your life and business.
You can find growth anywhere. And as long as you have an open mind and take those opportunities to learn, then you're going to grow from it.
The easiest thing too is just always being in your zone of genius. What you are passionate about and are good at.
The mindset shift is drastic when you're thinking of I am this person as opposed to I want to become or one day I will be is huge.
I feel like a lot of real estate companies have been putting a focus on themselves, basically. Recently, we've been putting it on the agents, and that's when our socials have been doing the best. It's become really personal, and we've gotten a lot more traction.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the simpliHOM podcast. Well, you'll notice the table's a little empty today.
Thank God.
Swai is she's currently
living
on vacation,
living
it up. Brett's out there building systems and processes.
Somebody's got to do it.
And Sean is slumming it here at the table. Our CEO and founder. And I'm Kyle Mann. I'm the director of video and immersive tech and the host of this podcast right now for this episode. So
one time only
gets the people going. Sean, I know, man, the last few months, you've been a little busy.
Nope.
You've been a little busy building an empire. But I figured this would be the perfect time to talk a little bit about the company, where it came from, where it is, and where it's going. I think you have a unique history with this company. And I know that everyone has their own story of like how they started their business and all that, but no one really gets to the level that this company is today. And that was due to a lot of factors that people may not know, that they maybe want to know, right?
Or not. Yeah.
Or not. We'll see. So I wanted to go ahead and start with something that's, I'm going to start with the hard ball, the hard questions right off the get. I literally told Sean right before this started, I was going to throw some softballs.
Yeah. 100-mile-an-hour softballs. Let's do it.
So I wanted to let's start at the beginning. You've told this story many times to any new agent that is coming through orientation. But for the people that are listening, so where were you in your real estate journey when the idea for simpliHOM first popped into your head?
Where was I in my simpliHOM journey? I would say, or in my real estate journey, simpliHOM was the only journey that I've known. No, after I had joined, so I was at 3 companies before I started the company. And at each of those companies, there was kind of a takeaway of like what not to do. There was plenty that they did right. But the things that they did wrong were just kind of blaringly obvious. And so it felt in the moment like it would be so much easier than it was to create something where hopefully we do far more right than we do wrong. But I don't know that I ever, I had an idea of where I wanted to go, but I don't know that you really ever know the exact journey until you start driving.
So the motivator was some of the problems that you had encountered, and not even, would you call them problems or like just problems?
I mean, somewhat. One place was a problem, another place I was my own problem, but I blamed it on the place. The other place wasn't really a problem. I just felt like we could do it better.
Yeah, nice. And I have to ask, and I'm sure people who have watched this podcast have had to type simpliHOM into anything. So where did the name simpliHOM come from? Because well, let's start first with
the name.
Was it? Yeah, there we go.
The name was expensive. So when we started, we were HŌM Group, and truthfully, I wanted to just be home. All I wanted it to be was home, but I was like, oh, that's going to be impossible. You just can't be home. So we ended up being HŌM Group, and we started June 4th, 2018, and it was around, I guess it was 2020, right? When the rebrand happened. Yeah. It was like May of 2020. And it was because we had filed trademarks in January or something, and it takes them forever to actually give you any type of response. And when they responded, it was just like a hard, yeah, no, good luck type of a thing. Cool. And that was on me. It was my fault. I didn't do my research that I should have done. And so throughout all of it, I was sitting on my couch watching a Braves game, and the email came through at like 9:30 at night. And I had like a quick moment of, man, that sucks. Like, we've worked so hard to like build this, brand it. We just got our signage up at the office like 2 months before, 3 months before.
I just created a video.
Yeah, like yeah, naturally. And so all of this was happening, but I like looked at it, and literally within 2 minutes or so, I was like, let's just do simpliHOM. And it was because I had been using a hashtag simpliHOM, but the hashtag had been SAMPLY.
Yeah.
And so like when I started messing with the logo design, it just didn't flow. Like having a Y in the middle of it. Yeah. So I just kind of tweaked it. I knew we had to keep the hexagon because it was already a part of our story.
Yep.
And so that's kind of how we ended up where we are.
Nice.
We'll see if it continues. I'm just kidding.
Well, if there's any indication as to growth of the company, I mean, I could get into kind of the ins and outs of seeing what's happening every day that people don't get to see. But we're not going to talk about that today. Well, we will later on in the questions. So who did you build simpliHOM for specifically? Like what was the agent, if you could build a quote unquote avatar of the person that would need simpliHOM the most, where are they in their real estate journey? What problems were you solving for those people?
Yeah, I don't know that I built it for any specific avatar of agent other than one that is productive. Yeah. But I definitely, like in the very beginning, the tagline, I guess, was making real estate simple for agents and clients. Like that was always the focus of just like agents in general. It doesn't matter if you've been in the business for a day or if you've been in the business for 30 years. You will absolutely, if you're out there working and building your business, you will absolutely run into a situation where you need more time in your life or you want to make more money or whatever. And so it was, how can we solve that problem where you can make more time, make more money, get more time, and then how do we provide convenience to the consumer to make it as simple as possible for them from their side? How do you provide transparency to the consumers so it's no longer this big old mystery of like, what do these people do to earn this big paycheck?
Yeah.
How about you just let them see it? Like, there is no mystery. There's a lot of work that goes into it. There's a lot of back and forth, a lot of conversations, negotiations, fights, arguments, alcohol, all of those things that get factored in to a successful real estate career, really.
Yeah.
And it was just, how can we make it simple? And now over time, you've watched it transform to just making real estate simple. That's it. And real estate doesn't have to be complicated, but people have chosen to make it that way. And it's an antiquated business and they've just been comfortable. And so it's our job to shake up that past and make it better.
So the problems that you're solving, like on the surface, you're looking at, like needing more tools, technology, more time, right? That's kind of that's the thing that people are looking for. That's the pain point that people notice first, maybe, is that they like, I don't have the time that I want. I'm paying for things that maybe not help me. Where would are those the problems that they're facing on the outside? Like we could call them external problems. Are they, is that what they're running into?
I think the external problem is agents generally suffer from shiny object syndrome. I always call it S.O.S. And they look for what's the next shiny object that's going to get me to my goals without me having to do this other stuff in the middle. So oftentimes they end up being kind of their own enemy along the way. And it's a real thing. Like you see it happen often. And then the second point that I'm trying to find before Grant presses the button.
It's twitching. The finger's like ready to go.
I hate you.
Well,
God, I totally lost it. It was.
We'll come back to it. We can come back to it. When we have agents that onboard. Oh, yeah.
Support.
Yes.
So we did a word cloud several months ago, and we were curious, what is the number one thing that agents say that they need when they join the company? Because we have this question in the onboarding flow. And I thought it was going to be time or money or anything. And the number one word by far was support. That's weird. So then it became kind of okay, well, how can we better support? Yeah. Like, what type of support are you looking for? Are you looking for, hey, I have a question for my broker and I need an answer quickly? Because we have that. Are you looking for, I'm brand new and I don't know the first thing? Because now we have that. We didn't at the time, but now we have that. Is it training support? Is it contract to close support? What type of support? But I thought that was interesting, because to me it was like a no-brainer. As an experienced agent who sells a lot of houses, to me the biggest challenge is time. Yeah. But I also sometimes think that they're not necessarily quantifying it to time. They're just thinking, I need support. Maybe I need an assistant. I need someone who can take something off of me, which in my mind is time, but in other people's mind is support. So yeah, support and shiny object syndrome.
Yeah, I suppose any agent that's gotten to a level of success where they are running out of time, they probably have at least technology that's good enough to get them to where they've gotten.
You would think.
So no,
not always. I mean,
wow.
Two of our biggest producers, I don't think, are overly reliant on technology or even marginally reliant on technology. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
we have two people who sell well over 100 houses individually with like no assistant, no anything, no tech, no anything. And they're just out there doing it. I mean, they have a phone, but I mean,
right.
Who doesn't?
And they probably have their own systems and processes, or not, or maybe
not necessarily. Yeah.
So you almost wonder like which we have, one of those agents has started to use a little bit of the services of the support that we have, correct?
One of them has started using a lot of the services that we provide. The other one, though, every time I see that individual, I go, hey, when are you going to start using X? And they're like, oh, I know I need to. And I'm like, yeah, you need to. I would have drowned like a year ago if I were you.
It's amazing how, okay, so what was it, going back to like the foundation of the company, what did you feel was inherently wrong with maybe the industry as a whole that you were trying to solve with the company? Maybe, maybe this is just a reiteration of, well, you should be able to spend time with your family or have time to explore, to have free time or to have time to whatever your why is, that simply blank. What do you think some of those bigger problems that's facing the real estate industry as a whole that you were trying to solve with simpliHOM?
I think in the very early days, I naively thought that you could actually replace realtors with tech, like fully.
Yeah.
And as time went on, I realized that that's not accurate. Like, tech is never going to know the difference between this street and that street. Somebody local, hyper local is going to know. So that's definitely a component. I think time, lifestyle, the majority of agents don't actually have a business, nor do they operate like a business. The majority of them, sure, they go out and they make good money, but the running joke in the real estate world is, if you want to sell a house, go on vacation, right?
Yeah.
And the reality is, you should be able to go on vacation and not think about your business and come home and still have one. And so that's something that I have been working to provide to people, is how can we make it to where you can take your family to the beach for a week and you're not on the phone pacing on the beach while your kids are building sandcastles.
Yeah.
And if we can nail that, then we're doing something that nobody else is doing. And then from a cultural piece, just industry-wide culture piece, it's pretty typical to feel like a number. In a lot of these bigger companies. And so, we've taken a step recently to instill that we have culture leaders, culture committees in each office, so that there can be that personal touch. it's a relationship based business, whether it's agent to agent or agent to client or whatever. So if we can support that, we can then grow, scale, become a national, international brand, but also still maintain that family feel.
Nice. And that's why you, for any new agent that has joined us, you get the welcome home. You know, it's kind of that feeling of like you're finally where you need to be able to spend time with your family or spend time. It's like that feeling when you get home from work, or like you had a long day and you finally sit down for the first time. You're like, okay, I'm home. And that for that brief moment of like that inhale, exhale, because I know a lot of agents are, after that exhale, they're back on the phone. They're back. They're doing their thing.
Dinner? What's family dinner?
Yeah, what's that? So I feel like coming to simpliHOM is an extended version of that sigh or that exhale at the end of a day.
I hope so.
Well, I mean, if you look at the tools and support, I forgot who I was. I was talking to one of our agents today, and we were talking about Simply Listed, an ancillary program that service that we offer. That when you really look at the list of things that we offer, it's not at the top of the list, I don't think.
Yeah.
Maybe for some agents. But when they were talking to me, they said immediately it saved them time. And it wouldn't have been possible were it not for just Simply Listed on that aspect of their business. And that's been a recurring theme being on the video side. I ask these people, I get the testimonials, I see people in front of the camera, and that's something that's been evident, is that the time that they do save. And we talked about another one of our agents, Derek Trainer, who was just on here a couple of weeks ago, and the time that he was able to save with our transaction management services.
Yeah. Yeah, he told me that the other day. I saw him at the grand opening for Closed Title, and I mentioned to him his sales numbers for the last 12 months, and he was like, well, you know, that's all because of simpliHOM. And like, I love to hear that. I also, being me, I'm always like, no, it's not. It's because you busted your ass. That's why. But if we're able to help take some pressure off and free up your ability to go do those things, then we're accomplishing our goal. You know, I think one of the hardest things for me is like when I started this, I had a team. And so when you have a team, you have that like very plugged in, you want to know what every single person's doing. It's almost micromanagement in many ways. And so when you start to turn into a brokerage, you have to start kind of taking a step back, and like, it's kind of like when your kids learn how to ride a bike and they're on training wheels and you're like hovering with them, and then they take the training wheels off and they go down the street and you're just like a nervous wreck, like, oh God, they're like, please don't fall, please don't fall, please don't fall. But you're still like glued. Yeah. And then, you know, they graduate and they go off to college, and you like don't see them every day. You don't even talk to them every day. You just trust that everything's okay. I think that's kind of what it's been like for me, going from team to small brokerage where I was the broker to bigger brokerage to now looking at scaling nationally. Like I don't get to talk to them every day. Yeah. I miss talking to them every day. It's one of the harder things for me, is having that like detached feeling. Yeah. But at the same time, I'm the entrepreneur's entrepreneur. I say it all the time. I want to support them however I can in the best ways that I can. People generally, I think, know that I'm pretty approachable. If you got a problem, tell me about it. Yeah. If there's something that I can do to help make something better, I'm going to do it. I'm always open to feedback. I'm open to criticism. Unless you just totally take my words and turn them into something I never said. But just kidding, sort of.
Shots fired. No. So I think that is a beautiful illustration of what it's like from your perspective, but I imagine any team lead or any mentor has felt that very same thing. So it's cool to know that even this is me stretching my storytelling mind, but I almost feel like the company as a whole, the brokerage as a whole, is doing that very same thing by offering them the tools and support that they need to be able to make those decisions, where each individual part of those ancillary services, they have their own little part. Like they're the teacher at the school that's teaching them, like, okay, you know how to read now. Like, go on. You know,
you get to graduate.
You get to graduate. Yeah. So I think that's really cool. And I'm gonna. This is not, obviously I work for simpliHOM, but these are genuine questions and genuine feedback that we get, and I know I get with these agents. So I wanted to take some time to kind of flesh them out. So did you happen to, in formulating this company and kind of, you have a list of problems, you have a list of potential solutions. Did you get any other, did you talk to anybody outside of real estate that had some insights on how to build a better brokerage?
I think that's one of the things that's made us better is that we don't just look inside of the industry for what others are doing. Mm-hmm. I've taken a lot of inspiration from outside, our boxes that we ship to agents when they join, that's a very almost like I don't know.
Like Zappos almost?
It's just a different touch, right? Yeah. Sure, you can join and get a little folder, woohoo, but getting a swag box delivered at your front door 2 days after you sign up, I think it's something that's a little bit different, and it's taken from just different industries. I think if we're not taking some inspiration from every interaction, every company, every industry, then we're doing ourselves and everyone associated with us a disservice.
You've mentioned it on the podcast a couple times, and I really like the mentality of, there was a CEO of the company that you went to visit, and when asked who his mentor was, he said it's everybody. Every conversation. Yeah.
That'll stick with me for a long time too. I mean, it was in the middle of I guess it was a sales meeting. They do Wednesday morning sales meetings, and we're talking, this guy's worth $12 billion. And he still shows up to the sales meeting to lead and inspire and
that's cool.
Guide. And to get that feedback from that person, I was like, yeah. 12 Billy. All right,
cool.
Can I borrow the jet, bro? Yeah.
That guy, from what I didn't get to meet him, but from what you and Paige were saying, that guy is he's just full of energy and drive constantly.
Constant.
Yeah.
I'm tired thinking about it. In fact, I mean, I do try to sometimes we go in these little ruts, right? You end up down in this little valley, and then you pop up and you're like, woo, look at me. And then you're back down.
Yeah.
It's fun though to look at that type of a person. And for me, I think one of my bigger challenges is I don't use any stimulants.
Yeah.
So I don't drink caffeine. I don't do Coke like some people, business leaders do. I don't do anything. I take my multivitamins. I drink chocolate milk when I do it. I drink water throughout the day. Every now and then I'll walk around the office begging for somebody to give me a piece of candy, and nobody has any. And
so what happens when a whole office does 75 hard.
Right? Yeah, except for me, candy. The guy who can't pass it.
Well, you're building an empire. So.
Yeah, we're building an empire.
We're building an empire. So you had a lengthy list of problems that you're wanting. How did you address, which problem did you address first when you're at the origins of HŌM Group? Because there's a lot of things you can tackle. And I imagine you mentioned several of them, picking it up from different brokerage. Where did you decide to solve your first problem?
My first problem was nobody wanted to join me because my comp plan was stupid. So I had to solve that one. My second problem was we were trying to offer contract to close, and I didn't realize how difficult it would be to scale that offering. And so it probably took a year or two before we really got that dialed in.
Yeah.
And I remember one Saturday morning, Leslie came with Bloody Marys. It was a rainy Saturday morning. We just sat there and drank Bloody Marys. Just got there at 8:00 in the morning at the office, pulled out the whiteboard and just started mapping out. Thanks, Brett, cartographer, jerk. Started mapping out, quote unquote, the way to do it, the process. And that process has held pretty steady. They closed 3,000 transactions last year with it. So it works.
That's awesome.
But nothing's ever perfect. It's just you start getting something, you get it dialed in, and then you move on, and then you have to take a step back and redial it in. And it's okay. We've adapted to it, I guess. I'm the worst at prioritizing. The worst.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely. In my mind, I'll write out a to-do list, and every single thing I wrote down is an A1.
Yeah,
absolute
priority
urgent.
One needs to be done
gotta
today.
do it right now. And so then I'll toss and turn and barely sleep because I'm God, nothing's getting done. Why?
Yeah,
it's because I'm terrible at prioritizing. It's all like, I need it now, instantly. And part of that, I think, stems from when I started the company. It was Sean sitting on his computer until 4:30 every single morning getting stuff done.
Yeah.
And then I would work and I would like help other people build their business, and I would go out and sell houses and stuff. And then I would come home at 8:30, 9 o'clock, and I would answer broker calls until like 11 or 12. Enrique, thank you for calling me at 1:30 in the morning sometimes. But I was there for them, and they knew that.
Yeah.
And then I would sit there and I would just like pound away on my computer and keep building the company. And so now it's like, you know, we're talking about, we're rebuilding the Join simpliHOM site, and all I want to do is get the login information so I can go build it. Like, I want to sit on my computer until 3 o'clock in the morning and mess with it. Yeah. But, you know, Brett's like, no, that's not your job anymore. I'm like, but I miss it. Like, and it's weird because it's almost like a creative outlet for me. Like, I need that something because I'm like always in super analytic mind. Yeah. So like I kind of need that, like, oh, let's get over here and like just build something and do something. Yeah. And it can get really boring living in Analyticville. But it's something that, you know, I have to deal with right now. I'm going to go live here for a minute and then I can get back to vision and creation.
Yeah. Nice. There was there's an illustration in my head. Do you know was it the Bugatti Veyron? Yeah. At one point, the fastest production car. Yeah. And I remember hearing about how at a certain point of growth, of speed, you can't just add more horsepower. You have a kind of a law of diminishing returns once you get to a certain point, because then you have to factor in drag. It's no longer a horsepower problem. It's a aerodynamic problem. And I feel like levels of growth within your business or our business, like at a certain point with Handled, you know, when you were like getting to different levels, or with the transaction management services, when you got to a certain level, it's no longer about like, we can't just keep throwing people at the problem. We got to change the way this is designed. Is that kind of what that moment was with the transaction management? It's like, okay, like in order to scale this, at a certain point, we're going to have to change something other than the number of people. Obviously, when you scale, you're going to have to add people, but.
Yeah, but I mean, at the time, you know, we were only able to manage like 15, 20 deals per person. Mm-hmm. And so that was kind of the driver there, was the like, how do we get to like 75 deals per person? And then can we push it more?
Gotcha.
And so that was one of those, that was kind of the indicator there. And even from a staffing perspective here, like, you have to look at how many support staff members per agent count, and how much automation can we use in the middle to bump that up. Yeah. And I think right now we're sitting at like 1 to 55 or something like that. Yeah, I think it's like 1 to 55. Yeah. And I want to push that higher. I want to try to get to like 1 to 100 or something like that. But it takes a lot of tech and automation. Yeah, there's a lot on that side.
I feel like that's when you look at any brand that stands out from the rest. It'll look the same, it'll feel the same, but where all that money and time and energy goes to is changing that 5%. Yeah, I feel like that's the differentiator between like a luxury car and, well, I say luxury car. I was going to compare the new Corvette because I think it kind of looks like an exotic car.
Yeah, they are pretty.
They are pretty. And I was going to compare them, like, it's not a Lamborghini, but it kind of looks like one. But the difference I feel is in the detail, obviously.
Yeah. The radio dial button, like,
yeah, the lit,
like, it's those little details for sure. Like GM, they suck at good buttons. And then you go to like the luxury brands and like it feels solid. And, you know, it's the same with us versus whomever else. Like, you know, hopefully the details feel solid. And I'm an absolute perfectionist. So if they don't feel solid yet, they damn well will. Will.
Ooh. Will be. All right. So what is it that has, and we kind of talked about this with support, but when agents come over, what has it been that has led people to simpliHOM? In addition to that support, what do you feel like has brought people here and has kept them here?
I think one of the biggest things that we have is our people care. Like our staff cares, our brokers care. And people know when you care. Like they can feel, you can feel care versus I'm just somebody else. And I would say that's largely it. You know, I mean, you could look at features and compensation and stuff, but I really feel like I hate comparing on features. Yeah. I like comparing on value, whether perceived or otherwise. And if it goes back to what's the number one people show up and it's support, well, do they feel supported from our team that cares? Yeah. So why go somewhere else that you're not going to? And we have a tremendous amount of people, percentage wise, not quantity, a tremendous percentage of people who have left us and come back to us because they left and realized the grass wasn't greener and that they miss what they had.
S.O.S.
And yeah, shiny object syndrome for sure. And that's something that I take pride in.
Yeah,
like I like
sure.
that. There's another competitor of ours that there's a running joke between one of my co-founders, Thomas and I, that anytime someone joins that company, it's just the next step before they come here. So that's cool too. Like we'll be here, arms wide open.
I think I know that company.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. Where have you seen what happened?
Nothing.
Oh, just looking at it?
No, it's a logo.
Oh, okay. I was,
what are we doing?
I don't know. What are we doing? I forgot we're on a podcast. Golly, do your job, Kyle. So where have you seen the lives of your agents most drastically changed? So you've had several agents, and you kind of like skipped over it a little bit, and I think it's because one, you don't like to take credit for other people's success, and you tend to be humble, thus the I and the we. But the fact remains that the lives that have changed since coming here, and I'm not an agent, but I know that you've changed me and my family's lives, and I know that can be said with the other staff on staff.
The other staff
on staff. It's a bit redundant, but I know, I mean, you mentioned Enrique, and I don't expect you to go into their life stories, but where have you seen your agents' lives changed?
I mean,
in what areas of their life?
Yeah. All, really? I mean, like if they're, Enrique as an example, if you get somebody in that situation, he put in the work. He hustled. He had his bad days. He had his good days. He persevered through the no's and got to the yeses. He still continues that same grind 6 years later, I guess now, because he was with us before the company ever started, maybe 5 years, I guess. John Laster, another example, right? I mean, and it's all the same formula for those guys. And, you know, for anyone who doesn't know, all of the people who started with us are still with us, which to me is a testament that we're doing something right.
Yeah.
But, you know, you look at them and like they have put in the work, and it's not my place to take the credit for their work. All I've done is create a platform, hopefully a vision and an opportunity that they can see themselves building within. Same with staff. Like I'm not doing anything special. Like we're building something, we're working hard. We have good days, we have bad days, we have moments of feeling defeated and then moments of feeling like we're on top of the mountain, and we have so much work ahead of us to get to what that ultimate vision is. And if I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing and I show up every day and I'm delivering on my promises and my vision and I'm setting expectations of what's to come, whether it's a conversation with an agent or with a staff member, you know, ultimately it's all up to us to put in the work. And if, you know, somebody in Enrique's shoes, for example, like he's been able to teach his kids new habits that he didn't know before. Yeah. He's been able to provide a life for his kids and for himself that he's never been able to provide before. And that's not me. Like he could have done that at any company.
Right.
I'm just fortunate enough to have had a bird's eye view the entire time.
That's cool.
So, it's fun to watch. It's cool. Like, you know, when Swag got her little puppy, Griff, And she came in and she was like, "This is your godfather."
Yeah.
And it's like fun. Like I love watching people win, you know, like when she bought her first house, I was so proud of her.
Yeah.
Because like she did that, you know,
Yeah.
she and Miller did that. They did that, but we got to be a part of the story, you know? So,
she'll tell you that she did that.
yeah, she will. She would. But we got to be like front row to it. And I like that. And hopefully I can stay, you know, it's easy sometimes. And I got blasted for this a week ago for saying like, don't watch the news. But it's easy when you flip on the news and you see all this like negative talk all the time to kind of lead yourself, no matter how much you know, excuse me, no matter how much you know and how protected your mind is, it's really easy to kind of retract back into this like state of fear or state of doubt or imposter syndrome or all the things.
Yeah.
And I caught myself falling into it this weekend, actually, where I was sitting there and I was like, all right, what I need to change this, shrink this, shrink that, shrink this. And then I was like, why? Because like, if I am even remotely thinking, any fiber of my being is thinking, let's shrink, then how in the hell can I lead to let's explode when everyone else is shrinking? You know, one of our biggest growth moments was during COVID.
Yep.
And everyone was in this like fear, let's slow down, let's pull back. And we were like, wah!
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, go. And it was like, that was our time. And so what am I doing other than a disservice to myself, my family, my vision, your family, your visions, this company, every single agent? I'm only doing a disservice to all of those people if I let myself remotely feel any of those things. And the only thing I'm allowed to let myself feel is go. And not blindly go, be aware of what's happening in the world, be aware of the risks and so on, so you don't jeopardize everyone trying to do something that you shouldn't. But it's like flying. Like, hey, if I'm going to get to the destination, I sure as hell am not going to fly through the middle of that storm. But is there another way I can go in order to still get there? And I'm a solution guy, so by God, there's a way, probably.
I'm a sucker for illustrations, and you've been full of them today. And like, I'm getting vivid mental images of everything you're saying, and the plane around the storm. It's okay to acknowledge the storm is there and to know that it's there. You need to know that the storm is there.
You do,
so you can.
So you don't fly too close.
Yeah,
but you can still fly past it.
Yeah, I love that.
And it's the reality of the world that we're in right now. I imagine like you're flying from here to Denver and there's a line of storms in the middle. Yeah. And that's what it looks like right now. But can you go over it? Maybe. Yeah. Is there a little pocket you can slide through? Probably. Yeah. And so you'll
know more the closer you get.
Yeah. That's sure.
I want to talk about, since our heads are in the clouds right now.
Always.
I want to talk about the future of simpliHOM, because that's what a lot of your time is now. And if you come into the office today or any random day, you're going to get a mixture of, the marketing team going across me, Grant, with the video camera, but you'll also notice that you guys, specifically you, Brett and Swy, and even Paige, you guys are building something huge. There's been a lot of head down. Yeah. And I know I don't know what we can and cannot talk about, so I'm going to throw that to you on using your discretion. But I know a lot of exciting things are coming when it comes to who simpliHOM is, what we offer, and where we're going. What are you most excited about heading into the future with simpliHOM?
Just the future in general, honestly.
Yeah.
There's too many great things coming to be excited about any one thing, I think. I'm excited about the fact that we're really going to be soon positioning ourselves in a way to maximize growth, opening a lot of new markets. And And it's exciting. It's a little bit scary. It's a little bit intimidating, but it's also one of those things like I had to sit down with myself a couple weeks ago and have a conversation. And these conversations generally occur in the shower, so you can take that visual out. But it's like, it's the one place that I get like total silence, right? Like I get total peace and quiet. It's just Sean and Sean, like just there, just having a conversation. And I started to think about like the direction that we were going, the pros and the cons and the strengths and the weaknesses. And I just had to take a step back and just get fresh clarity. Because it was really easy at the time to get a little too convoluted in where we were going. Maybe getting a little bit too in the weeds on different things, realizing that the vision is huge, but it wasn't big enough, and that I was thinking too small. And one of the things that I had been so focused on was I want to get to 1,000 agents in Nashville. And I was like, but why, Sean? Like, who cares?
Yeah.
Because there are 50 other states, and there are some really good companies in Middle Tennessee that have been too cautious to expand beyond what they know. They're really good at what they do here, but they're not willing to go anywhere else and be good there. And so why not? Like, why are we so focused on let's get to 1,000 in Nashville when it means absolutely nothing?
It's an arbitrary number.
We're a top 10 firm. We're the eighth largest, I think, in Middle Tennessee. We sell in the top 8 to 10 every single month, every year. We've accomplished a lot. We have 375 agents in Nashville, and then we have other agents in other markets to bring our total up to the 400-ish number. And that's cool. But like, we've proven to ourselves that we can have deep penetration in a market to get to 375 in one city. So why don't we go to 50 cities in 50 states, or let's go to 100 cities in 50 states, or so on, and replicate when we already know how to do it. And so that was one of those, like, I need to take a step back, look at the drawing board, redraw this visual for myself. And then I needed to have a really honest conversation with myself of like, what's holding us back from accomplishing those things? And that's what the team has been working on now. Is I called Brett. I said, I have an idea. I want to do this, 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 and this, and let's do this and this, and let's add this thing and that thing. And then I had another idea last night that was freaking crazy that I can't wait to get to work on. But
a little teaser on the podcast, a little
so
first hint.
We have so many of these things going. The team's working tirelessly, and we're getting close. Like you like with a company, with any company, even if it's just like, you know, you're an independent realtor, you're working on your business, you'll start to understand that you feel the company move with you, right? And you'll see like this momentum, and it starts feeling lighter. Everything starts feeling lighter. You get that airflow over the wings. It's ready to fly a little bit. And then you get distracted and you go look over here and you start losing that airflow over the wings, and you feel that weight start to pull you back. And it's the same with any size company. It can be just you, or it can be 500 of us or 50,000 of us. Same thing. If Sean loses focus, the company pulls back. And when Sean's laser focused, the company accelerates. And I've started to feel that almost as an extension of myself. And it's kind of like when you grow into the position, it's like you drive a small car for your entire life, and then you trade up to like a 26-foot box truck. And you're like trying to figure out how to judge that turn. And and like initially you're like, oh God, I'm going to hit the telephone pole or run over the poor pedestrian in the corner. But then like it becomes natural. And everything just starts to work, and then you start whipping it around the corner because you're used to it. And it's very similar with the company today. Like, it took me a while to get accustomed to the size of the operation, the detachment of myself from the day-to-day in everyone's world, and feeling the ebbs and the flows and the patterns in the company. And then once you start to feel it, you start whipping that thing around a little bit. And then next thing you know, we're going from a 26-foot box truck to a 737. And then now we're like, all right, cool. Like, how close can we fly to the storm before we get struck by lightning?
Yeah.
Well, the answer is 20 miles. So let's go 20.1 and let's fly around this baby and let's get where we're going. So that was it. I mean, we have a ton of incredible announcements to make, things that I can't talk about yet, but things that'll be game changers for all of us, really.
And on that note, we're going to conclude this episode of the simpliHOM podcast. Sean, I could talk to you for hours about all of this, but we only have 45 minutes. So if
I've already talked to me for hours. So
yeah. Thank you for joining us on the simpliHOM podcast. If you liked it, like, subscribe, leave a comment, and we'll talk about anything you want to talk about. Just leave us down in the comments. We see you next week.
See ya.
Hey guys, it's Swy. Thank you for joining us this week, and we really hope you got some useful information and we made your day a little bit better. If you're interested in joining the movement of realtors getting their time and life back, check us out at joinsimpliHOM.com on the browser, at simpliHOM on socials, or in the description. See you next week.